Hi everyone. I'm a web developer. I've been working with Elixir since 2017. During the day, I work at Steady. Steady is a German startup that runs a platform where independent content creators can start publishing their content for free, or existing creators can monetize their projects by selling memberships. We have a beautiful Phoenix monolith. All of our backend code is Elixir. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. During my free time, I volunteer at Exercism. You may have heard about Exercism before. It has been around since 2013. Exercism is a platform for code practice and mentorship. It was created by Katrina Owen as a tool for her students. And it grew to be so much more than that. In version 1, it was just a collection of interesting practice exercises. In version 2, it became a platform for free code mentorship. Last week, on the 1st of September, Exercism version 3 was released. Today, I will talk you through the changes in version 3, explain why they were made, and how the changes will improve your experience on Exercism. I believe that in its new form, Exercism has the potential to become the best tool for learning new languages from scratch, and the Elixir track is leading the way. But why should you care? If you're just beginning your journey with Elixir, you can use Exercism to gain fluency and to receive mentorship. If you're already fluent, you can use Exercism to improve your soft skills and find gaps in your knowledge by mentoring others. Before we jump into the main topic, I just want to say that my slides are available at this URL, angelika.me/elixir-conf-eu-2021. We should have some time after the talk for questions, but if we run out of time, the last slide will contain my contact information, so feel free to reach out to me afterwards. Now, let's start with the basics of Exercism for those of you who never used the platform before. What is Exercism? Exercism is a platform for code practice and mentorship. It's available to anyone, it's free, it's open source, and it's run by volunteers. Its goal is to be welcoming, friendly, and not competitive. It encourages test-driven development by offering a detailed test suite for exercises, but it doesn't benchmark your solutions. There are no scores and no leaderboards. You can practice over 50 different programming languages on Exercism, and Elixir is one of them. How does it work? At the core of Exercism, there are practice exercises. Practice exercises consist of a single problem. For example, changing integers to Roman numerals, scoring a game of bowling, or implementing the Caesar cipher. Popular tracks like Ruby, Python, or Elixir have over 100 different practice exercises each. Once you find an exercise on the platform that interests you, you download it to your computer, solve it locally, and upload the solution back to the platform. Step 1. To download the exercise, you need the Exercism's command line interface. The download command needs to be told which track you want, which is the programming language, and which exercise. Step 2. You solve the exercise. Every Elixir exercise is a tiny mix project. The README file is the first one you should read. It contains the general description of the problem and instructions what to do. And the help file contains instructions on how to run the tests and how to submit your solution to the platform. Each exercise comes with a full test suite. Your goal is to make all of the tests pass. Very often, the exercises README is very simple, but the tests are where all of the corner cases are defined. To help you get started, there's usually a solution stub. That's where you need to add the missing implementation. Solving a practice exercise takes anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 hours, depending on how fluent you are and how difficult the exercise is. Once you're done and all of the tests are passing, you submit your solution to the platform using the CLI again. If you wanted, you could stop there, but the real value of Exercism is in steps 4 and 5. Step 4 is talking with a mentor. You can submit your solution for mentoring. The mentor will read your solution, suggest improvements, and try to help you understand the language better. You can also ask the mentor specific questions if you have any. All of the mentors on Exercism are volunteers. The waiting times for mentoring on the Elixir track are relatively low, thanks to Chris Eyre, who is doing like 80% of all of the mentoring on the Elixir track. Chris, if you're listening, thank you. And another way to learn from other people on Exercism is step 5, comparing your solution to other solutions. Each exercise on Exercism has already been solved by tens or hundreds or even thousands of other students. You can browse all of those solutions and compare the different approaches that they used. When you're done with one exercise, you can continue to another and another and another. Now that we all have a basic understanding of how Exercism works, let's jump into the main topic. What is new in version 3? Short answer, a lot. All of the major changes introduced in version 3 are meant to address the biggest problems that students had in version 2. There are 3 key problems that version 3 addresses. Problem number 1 is a difficult initial setup. 2, code practice without learning. And 3, long mentor response time. Let's take a closer look at all of them. Problem number 1, difficult initial setup. To start with Exercism, you need to install the Exercism CLI, but also the programming language that you want to try. And you need to feel comfortable in the terminal, and you need to configure your editor to do the syntax coloring. For advanced developers, all of that setup is an inconvenient time sink. For beginners, it can be a hurdle impossible to overcome. The solution is to let people code in the browser. No initial setup necessary. To facilitate this, Exercism has now a web editor, and each programming language on Exercism has its own test runner dedicated to running tests for Exercism exercises. This is the web editor. It has 2 panels. On the left, there's the source code, and the instructions and the test suite are on the right. It doesn't have any fancy features because its goal is not to be a replacement for your favorite tools. Its goal is to let you postpone installing all of the necessary dependencies until after you feel more comfortable with the language and you know that you want to continue working with it. The editor is entirely optional. You can continue using the CLI and using your favorite tools. For the web editor to be usable, there needs to be a way to run the tests against the solution that you submit in the browser. This is the job of the test runner. Each language has its own test runner. The test runner is responsible for reporting test results, but that's not all. It also needs to extract the test's body so that you know what code is being executed and you can interpret the failure messages. And also the test runner captures the test's output so that you can debug your code in the browser using IO-inspect. The test runners are crucial for using the web editor, but they will also be run on solutions submitted via the CLI, so that when you browse community solutions or when you're mentoring somebody, you can see immediately if their solution passes the tests. Problem number 2. Exercism is a platform for code practice, but it did not offer any way to learn a specific language from scratch. You had to do that somewhere else first. Exercises on Exercism were designed to be interesting and challenging, but sometimes even the easiest ones were too difficult to be an entry point to a new programming language. This is especially true when you're trying to learn a language with a completely different syntax or even using a different programming paradigm. The solution is to offer learning alongside practice. With the addition of the syllabus and learning exercises, Exercism has now become an excellent tool to dive right into a new programming language. What is a syllabus? The syllabus is a tree of concepts that make up each programming language. The syllabus is unique to each track on Exercism because each programming language consists of different concepts. The concepts depend on one another, forming various branches of the tree. You need to learn the previous concept in the branch to unlock the next one. For example, this is the beginning of the Elixir syllabus. It starts with a concept called basics, which covers how to define a module, how to define a named function, and where to find documentation for the standard library. This is something that you need to know for every single Exercism exercise. You need to learn the basics to unlock any other concept. For reference, this is the full Elixir syllabus. As you can see, you cannot see anything. At the moment, it contains over 50 concepts, but we still need to extend it a bit. At the top, you will find concepts such as strings, lists, maps, and tuples. In the middle, there's the enum module, regular expressions, structs, and writing type specs. And at the end, there's protocols, processes, tasks, and how to use Erlang libraries. You learn concepts from the syllabus by solving learning exercises. Learning exercises are different than practice exercises. They were designed to teach programming concepts to students that don't know the specific programming language at all, but do know at least one other programming language and basic programming concepts. Each learning exercise starts with an introduction. The introduction describes basic information about the concept that the exercise teaches. Most learning exercises teach a single concept, but there are some exceptions. This example shows an introduction about Elixir maps. It explains what maps are, how to define a map, how to access a value in a map, and so on. It contains some code examples to show new syntax, but it doesn't contain too many, so that you cannot just copy-paste the instructions to solve the exercise. Then there are instructions. Instructions for learning exercises are split into tasks. Tasks were designed to nudge the student into using the most crucial parts of any given concept. For example, the learning exercise that teaches maps will first have the student create a map, then read a value from a map, then update a value in a map, then get all of the keys, and so on. There is a story to each learning exercise, but the story is not that important. It's there so that you don't have to use nonsensical values like foobar and 1, 2, 3. But it doesn't play a big role in the learning exercise like it does in practice exercises. Each task comes with a small list of hints in case the student gets stuck. The hints often reveal which function needs to be used for a specific task and lead you to the documentation of that function. But solving a single learning exercise is not enough to master the concept. You need to practice it too. That's why we reviewed all of the practice exercises that already existed in version 2 and chose a few that can be used to practice each concept. This is how a single concept looks like in the tree. The dots represent exercises. The first one with the light bulb is the learning exercise, and the others are the practice exercises. And this is how it looks when you already solve a few exercises. Now notice that some of the practice exercises for this concept are still locked, even though the learning exercise is completed. This is because practice exercises are not limited to practicing a single concept. Some of them are very complex, and you need to learn more than just atoms to solve those exercises. If the syllabus and learning exercises sound boring to you, you're right. They were supposed to be trivial for people that are already fluent in the programming language. But don't worry, they are entirely optional. You can switch from learning mode to practice mode, and you will get instant access to all of the interesting practice exercise without going through the syllabus first. One important detail that I have to mention to manage your expectations is that developing the syllabus was a huge amount of work. Not every track on Exercism has enough maintainers to be able to have a syllabus ready right now. In fact, right now, learning exercises are only available in Common Lisp, C#, Elm, Elixir, F#, Go, Java, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, Rust, and Swift. And the Julia track will launch its syllabus soon. Problem number 3, long mentor response time. Not every track on Exercism has enough mentors. Some tracks have so few mentors that sometimes you have to wait for a month to get mentoring. This has always been extremely discouraging to students. It's such a core issue to Exercism that it's getting addressed from 3 different angles. Solution number 1 is to provide automated feedback. A lot of the feedback that mentors leave for students is repetitive. Being able to detect common mistakes automatically and give them to the student directly is a game changer. Getting automated feedback about common mistakes will allow the student to improve their solution even before they get mentoring, which also means that the mentor's job will be easier. It will save the mentor from having to mention tedious details like snake case versus camel case and focus on the essence of the solution. In some cases, automated feedback can be enough to satisfy the student, and they will not even request mentoring at all. Right. The first tool that Exercism uses for providing automated feedback is called the analyzer. The analyzer is a tool that looks for specific characteristics in a solution and returns to the student a list of predefined comments about what it finds. What characteristics? That depends entirely on the programming language and the exercise. For example, one of the checks that the Elixir analyzer does is checking all of the variable names and function names. If it finds a name that's not written using snake case, it will remind the student about the naming conventions. The Elixir analyzer has its own DSL that makes searching for specific patterns in the ASD easier. Here's an example of an analyzer check that checks for not using any of the enum module functions. This check is specific to the learning exercise for recursion. Using the enum module would defeat the purpose of the exercise, so the analyzer has to check for that. It's not something that could be detected with a simple unit test. The second tool that will help us with providing automated feedback is called the representer. The representer takes the solution and removes the non-essential parts. It normalizes formatting, removes comments and documentation, and it replaces function and variable names with placeholders. The output of the representer is called a representation. Each solution submitted to Exercism will be passed to the representer, and its representation will be stored on the platform along the solution. Then, mentors will have access to an interface where they can browse the representations of all of the submitted solutions. Mentors will have access to an interface where they can browse all of the submitted solutions and leave feedback on the representations. Then that feedback will be provided to every student that submits a solution that's very similar and has the same representation. A mentor only has to submit feedback once, and it's going to reach everyone that needs it. Representers themselves are already implemented and deployed for some languages, but the interface for mentors is still missing from the platform, so this feature will be available soon. Another solution to a long mentoring queue is to avoid unwanted mentoring sessions. In version 2, mentoring was required for so-called core exercises. Students couldn't progress without mentor approval, and a lot of students would use the core exercises to learn the language, so they needed the mentor approval as part of the learning process. This is no longer the case. The teaching role of practice exercises has been taken over by learning exercises and the analyzers. In version 3, mentoring is always optional and must be requested explicitly. To request mentoring, you need to answer 2 questions. What are you hoping to learn from this track? And how can the mentor help you with your solution? By knowing beforehand what the student is hoping to achieve, the mentor can choose those mentoring requests that fit their knowledge and mentoring style best, thus making it more likely that both parties will leave the mentoring session satisfied. In the new mentoring queue, mentors will be able to see the statistics about the student's mentoring history. They can see which student was never mentored before and may need a more careful review, and which student already knows how it works. They can also see if they themselves previously interacted with the students, so they can find the students they mentored before and develop relationships with them. Mentors can even add students to favorites and use that to prioritize mentoring students with which they already had a good experience. After each mentoring session, both the student and the mentor have an option of blocking the other person. Each user has 2 block lists, blocked students and blocked mentors. The other person will have, of course, no idea that they were blocked, so they cannot retaliate against you. You can choose to block somebody for any reason, but if they are breaking the code of conduct, please also report them explicitly to protect other users. Finally, the last step of dealing with the problem of long wait times is to ensure that even though sometimes you have to wait, the negative consequences of the waiting are minimal. In version 3, waiting for mentoring does not stop you from solving other exercises. You can still progress through the track. Solution number 3 is to mitigate negative consequences of the wait, so that you are no longer blocked from continuing with other exercises. And also, the mentoring session can be ended by either side, so you don't need to wait for the mentor to end the session if you're a student. You can choose to end the session for any reason, and you can always request a new mentoring session with a new mentor for the same exercise. You also have mentoring slots. For each track, you have from 1 to 4. Having multiple mentoring slots can help you when you want to request mentoring for a difficult exercise, which is less likely to get mentored fast, while still be able to get mentoring on other exercises. You unlock mentoring slots by gaining reputation. And you gain reputation by publishing your solutions for everyone to browse, by mentoring students, and by contributing to any of the Exercism's repositories. This means that students that contribute more to the platform get more mentoring. Those are the major ways in which Exercism has changed in September 2021. We added learning exercises so that you can learn without leaving the platform, a web editor so that you can code without installing anything, and analyzers and representers so that you can get instant automated feedback for your solution. We also removed a lot of frustrating blockers from the mentoring process. But our work on the platform is far from finished. Exercism is a not-for-profit organization that relies on volunteers. Anyone can help, and every little bit of help counts. If you like what you heard here today, here's how you too can help the platform grow. Step 1, join the platform. Become a student, start solving exercises, find bugs, suggest improvements, have fun, and tell your friends about it. Step 2, become a mentor. Each track could always use one more mentor. It's a free opportunity for you to dip your toes into mentoring and level up your soft skills without making a big commitment. You can practice giving thoughtful code reviews and discover gaps in your own knowledge by teaching others. Step 3, donate money. Running a platform like this one costs money. Exercism relies on donations, big and small, to keep running. If Exercism added some value to your life and your financial situation allows it, please consider donating. Step 4, that's the most fun one, contribute code and content. There are almost 300 repositories on GitHub that make up Exercism, and almost every one of them could use some more contributions. There's a page on Exercism where you can discover open GitHub issues and filter them by criteria that help you find the right task for you. Some of the tasks require coding, some contributing GitHub workflows, writing Docker images, others include writing content and developing new exercises. If you want to contribute to open source in a way that will help hundreds of people, this is a good way. If you want to contribute code to the Elixir track, those are the repositories that make up the track. Exercism/Elixir is where the exercises are. And the rest are the corresponding tools that I talked about today, the test runner, analyzer, and representer. Come over and browse the open issues. If you ever open an issue or a pull request, you will to one of the Elixir repositories, you're likely to get a response from Tim, Jeremy, or from me. We are the current Elixir track maintainers. They have been others before us, but we're the ones currently active. Tim and I are the ones that worked together on developing over 30 learning exercises for Elixir. Without Tim, I would not be here speaking today. And Jeremy joined us recently. He added over 20 practice exercises, and he's currently putting a lot of effort into making the analyzer better. But of course, Exercism is not just Elixir. There are more than 50 different programming languages on Exercism, more than I could fit on the slide. Some don't have an analyzer yet. Some are missing a few crucial learning exercises. Some don't have a syllabus at all yet. Every single one could use more help, your help. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, you can reach me in one of the following ways. On Twitter, I'm ATyborska93. You can write me an email to hello@angelika.me. Those slides are available at angelika.me/elixir-conf-eu-2021. Or you can visit my blog where I will put up this information after the conference again. We can also talk in person during the conference. If you want an Exercism laptop sticker, they are laying here on the chair. Some of them are shiny. That is all that I have prepared for you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Cool.
So thanks a lot for the presentation. I've been using Exercism for a few months, so in V2, and now for a few days also V3. So I've seen some of the changes, but some of them I realized just after your presentation, so thank you. My question, in fact, is about the Elixir track. And you were saying that some things are missing. So what's next on your schedule there?
So we need concept exercises for some of the meta-programming concepts, like ASTs, macros, quote unquote. We need a Gen server concept exercise, and maybe some of the other advanced OTP concepts. If we get Gen server done, and then dynamic dispatch, deciding runtime, which module and which function to call, and the with expression is also missing. Those are the ones on my mind right now.
Excellent, thanks.
Thanks for the talk. Wanted to ask about the architecture of the test runners. So is it running in some sandbox? How does it protect against dangerous code?
So the test runner all run in Docker containers. The containers have a read-only file system, and none of them have any network access. That's how they run. That's all I know. I wasn't involved in the technical details, just in the implementation of the Elixir one.
And yeah, I was just wondering what Exercism is like built in, like what language is it built in itself?
The platform itself is built with Ruby using the Rails framework. The front end is in React. And the tooling, the command line interface is pretty old, and I think it's written in Go. And we have another tool, command line tool for maintainers, which is currently written in Nim. What else is there? Yeah, that's all that I can think of right now.
Okay.
Okay, there's one from the app. I guess you touched on that already, but someone is asking what is the process of being a mentor. So if you can explain that a bit more.
The process of becoming a mentor.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that first you should be a student for like a month or so to get a feel for the platform, how it works. And then you just find the right page to which I no longer have access to because I'm already a mentor. So it's a page that you only see when you're not a mentor. And then you just request to be added to the list of mentors, and that's all. Of course, you have to give your soul to the devil and promise to be a good person.
That's amazing. Okay, thank you so much again. That was
Thanks.
a nice talk.